There is a plant that broke every rule of agriculture. A plant that grows faster than corn, faster than bamboo, faster than anything humans have ever tried to control. It heals the soil that industrial farming destroys. It feeds animals better than hay. It produces more protein per acre than soy. And once you plant it, you never need to plant it again. It grows itself, repairs itself, replants itself, spreads like intelligence in the dark. For thousands of years, it fed people, fed livestock, fixed nitrogen, cooled landscapes, restored dead land. Then we erased it. We did not ban this crop because it failed. We banned it because it was too successful. A plant that grows without permission, heals without chemicals, and outperforms modern monocrops cannot fit into a world that demands control. Kudzu did not begin as an enemy, it began as a miracle. It first touched American soil in 1876 at the Philadelphia Centennial Exposition. In the Japanese pavilion, visitors stopped in their tracks. There it was, a delicate vine, draped across handcrafted wooden trellises, its leaves broad and elegant. People walked past steam engines and new inventions, past exotic foods and machinery, and found themselves admiring a simple plant. Farmers took note. Botanists took notes, gardeners took cuttings. A plant that could grow fast, heal damaged soil, fix nitrogen, stop erosion, survive brutal summers, and even feed livestock. In a country struggling with depleted farmland after generations of overplanting, kudzu looked like salvation. Newspapers praised it. Southern farmers experimented with it. Railroads planted it along embankments to stop soil from sliding onto the tracks. Homesteaders planted it to shade porches. Photographs from the era show proud families posing beside the vine as if it were a prized decoration. But beneath that admiration was a flaw no one recognized. Kudzu's greatest strength was also its darkest curse. Most crops grow in seasons. Kudzu grows in ambitions. While farmers saw a helpful vine, kudzu was already preparing for something much bigger. It didn't simply spread, it sprinted. Every warm day was an opportunity. Every empty patch of soil was an invitation. And every structure, tree, or field became a ladder. It didn't just grow fast. It grew uncontrollably fast. What started as a decorative plant, a friendly vine brought across the ocean, slowly began revealing what it truly was. A force of nature that no fence could stop, no plow could slow, and no farmer could fully understand. And this was only the beginning. What started as a quiet climb across fences and porch rails soon became something no farmer had ever seen before. Kudzu didn't spread like a crop. It moved like ambition made of leaves. Corn grows about 8 feet in a season, a respectable rise, predictable, steady, familiar. Kudzu, 50 feet, in one season, 10 times faster than corn, twice as fast as bamboo, a speed that felt unnatural, a speed that felt alive. Fields that were clear in spring were swallowed by August. Trees disappeared beneath curtains of green until only the outlines of their skeletons showed through. Telephone poles turned into leafy towers. Abandoned barns vanished under moving walls of vines. What farmers planted, kudzu claimed. What they built, kudzu climbed. It didn't just outgrow crops, it outgrew farmers. News spread as fast as the vine itself. Rural papers printed urgent warnings. Headlines shouted in black ink. Farmers warned, do not plant kudzu. Georgia declares kudzu a pest. Civilization threatened by supervine. What had arrived as a miracle had become a menace, a slow green tide rolling across the south. This wasn't a crop anymore, it was a conquest, a takeover, a force that didn't wait for permission, didn't recognize property lines, and didn't stop for winter. And by the time people realized what it could do, kudzu was already moving on. In the early 1900s, the United States government didn't just tolerate kudzu, it promoted it. Officials urged farmers to plant it along eroding hillsides. Demonstration farms were built, nurseries were funded, pamphlets were printed by the millions. For every acre planted in kudzu, farmers were paid. County agents traveled town to town, preaching the gospel of this miracle vine. A plant that grew fast, healed damaged soil, and survived the brutal southern heat. To a nation battling erosion and dust storms, it looked like the perfect answer. But by the 1930s, the dream collapsed. Kudzu was no longer decorating trellises or holding hillsides. It had begun swallowing the country's infrastructure. Highways vanished behind curtains of green. Railroad age tracks were engulfed so quickly that entire crews were hired just to pull vines off locomotives. Telephone lines sagged under the weight. Power poles disappeared beneath living spirals of stems. Entire forests vanished under the wave. Ancient oaks suffocated. Pine stands went dark. Livestock wandered into kudzu fields and disappeared in a maze of vines twice their height. Even houses were overtaken. Whole farmsteads reduced to nothing but rooftops poking through the green. By the 1950s, the USDA made its final declaration. Kudzu was a noxious weed, one of the closest things to a national agricultural ban the country had ever issued. Government agencies that once paid farmers to plant it now paid them to destroy it. A crop once praised as salvation was officially recast as a biological villain, a mistake too powerful to control, too fast to stop, and too entrenched to ever fully erase. But fear can only explain the past. To understand the future, you have to ask a different question, one far more unsettling. So why can kudzu do what corn can't? Why does it outgrow, outlast, and overwhelm every crop planted beside it? 3 answers rise from the soil. The first, photosynthesis on overdrive. Kudzu isn't satisfied with ordinary sunlight. Its leaves are engineered for hunger. Broad, tilted panels that catch light at more angles, more hours of the day, more intensity per inch than the crops humans have bred for centuries. While corn spends the morning warming up, kudzu is already capturing energy. While corn rests in the evening shade, kudzu keeps working. Most plants chase the sun. Kudzu traps it. This is not growth. This is pure acceleration. The second, nitrogen-fixing roots. Corn survives only with help. It needs fertilizer, truckloads of it. But kudzu creates its own. Deep in the soil, its roots partner with bacteria that transform atmospheric nitrogen into plant fuel. Every single day, kudzu manufactures the nutrients other crops can't live without. Where corn starves, kudzu thrives. Where soil collapses, kudzu rebuilds. It is its own supply chain, its own fertilizer factory, its own survival kit. A plant that feeds itself, and the ground beneath it. And the third, survival mode. Cut it, and it grows back thicker. Burn it, and the roots wait patiently. Then return. Freeze it, starve it, neglect it, it keeps coming. Kudzu tolerates drought, heat, poor soil, flooding, neglect, competition. It adapts so quickly it feels less like a plant and more like a biological strategy. Every node is a backup plan. Every vine is a potential new root system. Every fragment is a future forest. It doesn't just endure hardship, it treats hardship like fuel. Scientists studying kudzu eventually reached a conclusion that sounded less like a warning and more like a confession. Kudzu is not merely an invader. Kudzu is a survival machine, a blueprint for persistence, a masterclass in adaptation, a plant that refuses extinction and refuses permission. And all of this raises a question larger than the vine itself. If a forgotten crop from the 1800s can outgrow corn with no fertilizer, no irrigation, and no human help, what else have we overlooked? Most people know about the 1950s ban. Almost no one knows the truth. The warning started much earlier, almost as soon as kudzu arrived. By the late 1800s, trouble signs were already showing. Kudzu wasn't just decorating porches or shading verandas. It was spilling out of gardens, stretching across fence lines, and moving toward main roads. In small southern towns, people watched it glide over sheds, barns, chicken coops, and woodpiles with a speed that didn't feel normal. Farmers wrote letters to agricultural journals saying the same thing. This vine grows too fast. It does not stop. It will ruin the fields if it gets loose. Local legislators took notice. Some counties posted official notices urging residents to avoid planting it. Others quietly drafted restrictions. Nothing national, nothing formal, just community-level warnings spoken in town halls and printed in small-run newspapers. The concerns were always the same. It was too aggressive. It spread beyond property lines. It threatened to choke farmland. And if left unchecked, it could upend local agriculture entirely. Farmers who planted it for beauty soon found themselves fighting it for survival. Neighbors complained that vines were crossing into their fields, wrapping around fruit trees, smothering crops. Some places issued statements that read like prophecy. Do not plant this vine, you will regret it. The warnings deepened as more land vanished under the green curtain. Kudzu became the first crop in America to be labeled a menace before it ever reached commercial scale. A plant so capable, so unstoppable that its reputation collapsed long before its market ever grew. Even then, before government subsidies, before nationwide planting, before millions of acres were consumed, the South had already seen enough. They understood something that the rest of the country would learn decades later. Kudzu wasn't dangerous because it failed. It was dangerous because it succeeded too well. And when the danger finally became impossible to ignore, the response came far too late. The truth is simple. By the time the government finally stepped in, the damage was already irreversible. The 1950s ban came like a locked door placed in front of a runaway train. Kudzu wasn't spreading anymore, it was accelerating. Old headlines flash. Kudzu listed as noxious weed. Federal funds withdrawn. Millions spent on control efforts. A ban could stop farmers. A ban could stop nurseries. But it could not stop a plant that never needed human permission in the first place. The first reason the ban failed, the roots were already too deep. A single kudzu crown can bury itself 10 feet underground and send vines 60 feet outward. Cutting the leaves did nothing. Burning the vines did nothing. Chemicals barely slowed it. To kill kudzu, you must kill the heart of the plant, and the heart was buried where no plow could reach. The second reason, the South accidentally helped it spread. Road workers unknowingly dragged small root fragments from county to county. Farmers moved contaminated soil. Railroads carried it even farther, dropping pieces of vine from Georgia to Virginia. Kudzu didn't break containment. Containment carried kudzu. The third reason, kudzu thrives on disturbance. Most plants weaken when land is cleared. Kudzu gets stronger. Most plants die back after fire. Kudzu grows back thicker. Even herbicides acted like pruning. Cutting it down only encouraged it to return faster, denser, hungrier than before. The fourth reason, climate. The Southeast grew hotter, wetter, and more humid through the early 20th century. Perfect conditions for a vine built to absorb heat and moisture like fuel. While other crops struggled, kudzu entered its golden age. The fifth reason, kudzu doesn't wait for seeds. Every vine that touches the ground becomes a new plant. Every root becomes a colony. The ban could have stopped seeds entering the country, but kudzu didn't need seeds. It grew by duplication, not reproduction. And so, the ban failed not because lawmakers were wrong, but because lawmakers were late. Kudzu had already built an empire across the South. The official ban simply admitted a truth everyone could see. This was no longer a crop. This was a kingdom. Today, more than 7 million acres of the American South belong not to farms, not to forests, not to people, but to a vine that refused extinction and refused to obey the rules written to contain it. Kudzu wasn't stopped. Kudzu won. Kudzu didn't fade. It flourished. Cut it, burn it, starve it. It comes back stronger every time. It still outgrows corn today for one simple reason. It never waits for permission. And as it climbs power poles and barns even now, it leaves us with one final thought. If a forgotten vine from the 1800s could conquer the South, what other plants have we overlooked?